Ha, Hamwe Pi, Nyi K'omi Ganyu Ki, Juede Nutachi Ni Ki, Tunampi Hakiraje Ki, Edmund Ida Hamina Ki. Hello, I'm Kennetha Greenwood, and I just greeted you in my language. My name is Nyi K'omi. Nyi is water, K'o is the sound the water makes when it hits the rocks. And I was given this name by my great-grandmother Madge when I was about 7 years old. And she said I was like water that made my own path, so she thought this would be a good name for me. I also said I'm Otoe-Missouria, and I am Bear Clan, and I live in Edmond, Oklahoma. So in the series, I mentioned so much about my family. I wanted to share a little bit with you about where I came from and learn how I learned some of the information that I know that made me who I am today. And these are my great-grandparents on my great-grandfather's side, Chief Hoke Dent, also known as Nanduto, which means blue hair. He was one of the chiefs when the Otos came down from the Big Blue Reservation to the Oklahoma Territory. And his wife, Mariam Harrogera Dent, was also a daughter of a chief, and she lived to be over 100 years old. And these are my great-great-grandparents on my great-grandmother's side, Chief Dave Pettit, known as Miwese, or Takeaway Blanket. And not only was he a chief, he was also a lawman for the Otoe-Missouria. This is his wife, Ada Saunders Pettit, also known as Circling Eagle, which is Nyi K'omi. And she was actually such a good hunter, and they would let her go on buffalo hunts with the men. Usually only hear of the men hunting, but my great-grandmother told us that if the women could do something as good as the men, they didn't hold them back, and they were allowed to participate and help out the tribe in that way. Then these are my great-grandparents, Chief Ralph Dent and Madge Pettit Dent. Her name was Hukredawemi, meaning the four main teepee poles, and also translated into homemaker. My great-grandpa Ralph was made chief by his father, and my great-grandmother Madge was a chief's daughter as well, and they had a traditional arranged marriage. My grandmother was Rhoda Dent Compton, Meregremi, and that means coming from the north, and she was one of our last fluent speakers and instilled within me to do my best to help carry the language on for future generations. And my mother, Joanne Aitson, was named Grijemi, talking about how the arrow lands. And she's made a lot of our traditional Oto clothing, and this is my lineage that I wanted to share with you and tell some things about them. So my great-grandma Madge was a traditional doctor. She knew a lot about the plants and what plants healed what ailments, and she also delivered a lot of babies for the tribe and helped a lot of people who were ill. And she was also well known for what we call our special blankets, and not only made them for our tribal members, but a lot of her blankets were made for her Osage friends as well. And these blankets were worn when we have special occasion in the arena. My grandma Rhoda made a lot of intricate finger weavings for our men's outfits. They wore them down the side of their legs and around their calves of their straight dance outfits. So the longer weavings they used to wrap around their heads and wear them as a turban, or sometimes use them to tie their babies on the cradle board. And they were also worn as belts by the women sometimes when, especially when they'd wear, like I showed you the blankets, they'd make skirts out of them and wrap them around their waist and tie them with these belts. And then here are some examples of our clothing that my mom, Joanne Aitson, has made for us and other tribal members. She was taught to sew by her grandmother, and not only has she done a lot of ribbon work, she also makes what we call our camp dresses. And these are dresses they'd wear around the camp or to work, and usually made out of calico print, but sometimes today you'll see them made out of other materials as well. We still wear them when we dance today, usually in the heat of the afternoon, because they're a lot cooler to wear. So you can see the difference in the more intricate ribbon work and the camp dress, but each are just as beautiful. Today I incorporate these elements and designs and the traditions that were handed down to me in a contemporary light. I use my computer program to create things like carpeting, light fixtures, wallpaper, signage, and other artwork to add traditional elements to our tribal campus and other tribal business entities. So, for example, I created this blanket behind us. I was commissioned to do a design for Pendleton to represent our tribe. And I designed it to be worn in a way that my great-grandmother had made the special blankets with the ribbon work down the sides. And I also included a smaller ribbon work pattern design that you might find on a man's outfit. And then you can also see the silver buttons that I incorporated that we adorn our outfits with. And the seal represents the tribe, and the designs around the seal represent our veterans and war mothers of our tribe as well. And I'm very blessed to be in a position to give back to my people through the language and the traditions I was taught, and to come from the lineage and the rich tribal heritage and family that I do. Warikuro Kiki. Hey, oh, hey, hey.